For those of you that were here a minute ago, I was just mentioning that we did have a little bit of a glitch with our invitation that went out. So we might not have as many participants here today as what we had hoped for, but we're going to go ahead and record. And by recording this document, then we're going to be able to share it with students so that they can see this in their classrooms later. And even parents, if they want to be able to upload this later and be able to see that, they'll be able to. So my name
Can I interrupt you for just a second, please, Beth?
Yes. Yes.
So if people have questions during the presentation, if you'd like to put them into the chat, you can see there's a chat button at the bottom and it opens up a screen on the right. I will help organize questions and send them to Beth or our participants as we go along. If you don't feel comfortable just chiming in.
So thank you. Again, my name is Beth Remedi, and I'm the transition specialist at Grays Lake Central High School. Does anyone need to have the presentation translated into Spanish? Okay. So I'm not seeing that anyone needs that. So we're going to go ahead and not have our translator translate, but please feel free if you have any questions. Again, like Bob mentioned, just go ahead and put them in the chat for us and we'll make sure and answer those questions. We've got certain times kind of set aside that we're going to be kind of answering questions. So this way we can kind of keep the flow of the presentation going. And hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions and our panel members will be able to answer some of your questions before you even have to ask them. That would be kind of some of our goal. So, so again, we mentioned about the chat box and that would be wonderful. And again, just kind of holding on to your questions until at certain points we'll be asking for if individuals have questions. Okay, so I have a PowerPoint. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up so that you can all see that.
The joys of Zoom life, waiting
Yes,
for
the joys of so okay. So and again, I just want to say thank you for all of you attending tonight. It really means a lot whether you're helping out on the panel or you are a parent or family member attending. Your attendance means a great deal to us. So thank you very much. Okay. And we already did our housekeeping, so we'll keep on moving. So the one thing that I would like to add is just our panel has volunteered their time to kind of share their experiences with us. And I just ask that everyone be respectful because I realize that everyone's experience is going to be different. And so maybe you've had a friend or a neighbor's daughter that went away to a different college and had a totally different experience. And that's okay. But again, we're going to be kind of sharing with you what the standard practices would be. And then again, what our participants experienced themselves after they graduated from high school and moved on. Okay. So again, tonight we're going to start out by just giving kind of hopefully a brief overview of post-secondary education, disability services, and reasonable accommodations in the job place. And then we're going to be moving on to talking to our panel members. I have a series of questions that I've kind of typed up for us to get started with, but you are all more than welcome to put questions into the chat box as the panel members say things and you have additional questions. The important thing is for you all to get the answers that you would like tonight to be able to know what things will look like when your student moves on after they graduate from high school. So when we talk about high school, we talk about that high school is based on a success model. You know, the laws that we follow in trying to help students really guarantee that success. Now, families, that doesn't mean your student always ends up with the grades that we all hope, but we all have responsibilities in the secondary education arena to really be reaching out and connecting with students and connecting with teachers and connecting with families and really trying to take every single avenue we can to support those students. When students move on to like post-secondary education, so whether that's a technical college, a university, a training program, the purpose of services at that point are to guarantee access. So we go from success to access. And the difference is that those post-secondary institutions, they have to make sure that those students have an equal opportunity to the courses and the programs that the other students do. So it's a very big shift for our students when they go on and they leave us. And the most important thing is that the students have to be able to advocate for themselves. In other words, what I tell them is you have to be able to let people know what you need. Okay, say that again. It's so important as students leave us that they let people know what they need. There won't be a case manager there to make sure that they get it. There won't be a co-teacher in the classroom to make sure that they get it. Mom can't call and say, don't forget that, you know, my son has a test tomorrow and he needs to have that test read to him, because it won't happen. It really all has to come from the students. So we have a couple true false questions here. So I thought we would kind of start out with to kind of break down some of the information. So students needing accommodations. Okay, when students need accommodations, does that stop when they graduate from high school? Okay. So a student's need for extended time on a test, or a test to be in an auditory format, or the use of large print material or Braille, you know, does that stop when the student graduates? Well, of course, that answer is false. But I can't tell you how many meetings I've sat in when I have talked to families and explained what needs to happen next for them to continue to get services, their student. And the family will say, oh, no, they don't need that anymore. They're done. They in college, it's going to be totally different and they'll be just fine. Please don't ever give that message to your student, because they need to continue to receive many of the accommodations that they received in high school to help, again, grant them equal access. It's not going to give them more, but it's going to grant them equal access. Colleges are required to modify courses for students with disabilities. True or false? I'm sure you all know it's false. In college, the courses are the exact same courses. The tests are the exact same tests. Colleges cannot modify curriculum. And this often comes as a huge shock for students that are a freshman in college, or a student that had their courses heavily modified when they were in high school. And students will often say to me, well, why can't they modify it? Well, what? And I'll say, wait, but this person is training to become a nurse. We can't leave out parts of the curriculum because they have a disability, because they still need to know all that information because they're going to be a nurse. And a lot of times for families, it's kind of that light bulb moment that, oh, it is, they have to be able to do all of these different requirements in order to earn those degrees. Accommodations in post-secondary education are the same as high school. Well, of course, false, because we've already talked about that a little bit. They are many times different than what the student received in high school. And it doesn't mean it's less. It just means that it may be different. Employers must provide accommodations to employees. That sounds awfully true. Well, no, it's actually false. Employers are responsible for providing reasonable accommodations for their employees. And when an employee needs an accommodation is when they need to request that accommodation. And it will be up to the supervisor to decide if they will be able to grant that accommodation. And it's going to be individual. It's going to be based on the employer, the cost of the accommodation. There's lots of factors when you're talking about workplace accommodations. So post-secondary education. Again, students are so thrilled to hear this, that there are no IEPs or 504 plans in college. They love it. They are so excited. However, they do need to make sure that the documentation that they have is sufficient to be able to still receive those accommodations that we were talking about in higher education. I always say, take your IEP, take your 504 plan to the college or post-secondary institution, see if it's what they will be able to use and continue to provide you accommodations and services. Every school is different. Some will say, yep, we got it all here, and some will ask for additional documentation. So I often say when students are going on a campus visit, don't leave that campus without making sure that you also visit with the disability service provider to make sure that the documentation you have is sufficient to get accommodations. Okay. And this is the Spanish version there. Okay. Students need to provide documentation of their disability in the college setting or post-secondary institution before they can receive accommodations in college. So again, that's many times very much a rude awakening for students. They like to sometimes, try to take that test on their own without accommodations and just see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, then they like to go back and, request a retest and take the test with accommodations. But in college, you're not able to do that. You have to request your accommodations before, and then you can receive those accommodations. And it's not something that can many times just be done in a day. You have to kind of go through that process, and it might take a little bit of time. So I encourage all students to take the time before classes start. If you don't need it, you don't need it, but don't put yourself at a disadvantage by not setting up the services you need. Okay, and then what happens? The employer, not the employer, but the secondary education institution, they're going to make sure that in that documentation, it has the disability, the limitations in an educational setting, and the recommendations for accommodations. And we already said this, that the students need, again, to make sure and submit that documentation before they have the need for accommodations. Again, I always tell students, you're welcome to try to submit your IEP or your 504 plan, but just don't be surprised when the secondary institution is wanting additional documentation before they can provide you your services. Okay. I often say that once the students are registered for classes, that's the time to request to have their accommodation plan put into place. So after you get registered, the next step is to the Disability Service Office. Okay, we're going to shift just into the employment section, and we just have a couple slides to go through about that.
Hey, Beth.
Yes.
We can't see your slides from here.
You can?
Can you try sharing again?
Thank you for sharing.
I'm sharing that you're not sharing.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're sharing that I'm not sharing. Okay, we're going to try this again. I am so sorry, everyone. Dang, I would have taken much longer deep breath if I didn't know you were, I couldn't see what I was looking at. Okay, here we go. Wait. Can you guys see that? Yep. Okay. So let's do this quick since you didn't all have the luxury of seeing the slides. Does anyone have any questions before I go on to the last couple slides about employment? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. Do you see anything in the chat, Bob?
Nope, we're good here.
We're good. Okay, good. Okay, so just kind of shifting over to the employment end. It's quite a bit different when you're talking about an individual with a disability in an employment setting. So we always stress to our students, you have to request accommodations before you need them. You have to let everyone know what you need. Then the individual goes into a job and we say, wait. You need to wait until you know that you need an accommodation before you request it. So in other words, some of our students, they need accommodations as early as the hiring process. So they do have to let the hiring manager, the HR department know that they need something. So they may say that they need to have access to a sign language interpreter for a job interview. They may need assistance with the actual application because it's not in a format that they're able to access online. So they have to request those things ahead of time. Then there are students or individuals that have worked for the same employer for 100 years, and all of a sudden their job responsibilities change, or there's a new manager and they're asked to do things, and they now need to ask for accommodations because of that. Or just new job responsibilities. Everyone's job, as we know, is changing all the time, and an individual could be asked to do something that all of a sudden is that they would need an accommodation for. But I tell students, especially when this is their first job, they're all, so excited, and they're like, okay, do I need to tell them that I need this and this? And I'll say, no, just wait until you know that there's something that you need help with. Because if you just say, I need this, but there really isn't a part of your job that requires that, then you don't need to ask for it. Okay. Oops. Okay. So, moving on. So the only other thing I have before we hear from the panel is I always like to just let families know about additional events that are coming up that they may want to attend. So the Post-Secondary Choices Fair is going to be virtual this year also, and it's on October 20th at 7 o'clock in the evening. And I've got the website there. It's a wonderful website with tons of different post-secondary disability service providers and programs. And I would definitely encourage everyone to attend that. And next year when it is back in a live format, definitely to attend. It's a great college fair to go to. And so again, it's not sometimes they bring recruiters, yes, but it's primarily the different colleges' disability service providers. And I went on the website earlier today, and I think it was either 45 or 65 colleges that have already signed up to attend this in October. And then the College of Lake County will also be having a virtual transition night for students with disabilities. Oh, and I forgot that date. Okay, now I have to search my memory. It's like November 16th, if I remember correctly, but I will send that out. Both of those events are also on the College and Career website. So I always try to let our College and Career Center folks know what is kind of coming up for students with disabilities as well. Okay. Okay. And any other questions before we get to the part I'm just cannot wait for, our panel members? No? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel members. And I'm just going to we have with us tonight, we actually have a parent of one of Grays Lake Central's oops, sorry, I got thrown off there. One of Grace Lake Central students that graduated, and he graduated in 2018, and he is currently up at the Milwaukee Area Technical College, and he's studying aviation mechanics. And let's see, and he's also working part-time at Home Depot. And he's just a wonderful young man. And his name is Zach Gens, and his mom, Debbie Gens, is here with us today. Oh, yes, I can send out the slides. Yeah. So some of the questions she's going to answer kind of from that mom's perspective, but then she's also going to be sharing, you know, kind of even some questions as a mom, kind of what her thoughts were as we were going through these different, as she was going through that transition time with her son. Okay. And then we also have with us Ahmad. Ahmad, I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong. Michelle. Oh, is Ahmad still there?
Yeah, I'm
he's
here.
giving you the thumbs up.
There he is. Did I pronounce your last name wrong?
Nope, you got it exactly right.
Woo! Okay, so just Ahmad wrote something up for me, but I can't, I don't even have to read this because I just have to tell you quickly. Okay, so I was Ahmad's vocational facilitator through the Special Education District of Lake County, you know, about 10 years ago, right, Ahmad? Yes. And so Ahmad got to hear all this advice 10 years ago. It really hasn't changed, has it? Yeah, no.
I'm glad to see that you might have me as the most senior member here, Beth.
Well, Ahmad went on, he attended the College of Lake County. He ended up graduating from Illinois State, and you graduated from CLC. And he has a degree in special education, working with students with visual impairments. And now he is a CEDAL vision itinerant. And his vision teacher and him now are coworkers. So I think that is like awesome. So, and I remember when his former vision teacher used to tell him that she thought that he should really be a teacher, and he would laugh in his chair just like he's laughing right now. But anyway, and then the final student that we have with us is Lindsay. And Lindsay is actually joining us from Florida. She graduated from high school in 2014. She went on to graduate from Florida International University, and she is currently a certified targeted case manager in Florida. And Lindsay and I had an opportunity to talk on the phone a couple weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, I think she needs to just come back and talk to every single student, because I'll tell you that she shared such great inspirational information with us. I can't wait till you guys all get to hear from her. So I think we've got some great people to hear from. So enough from me. So I'm just going to ask the first question, and if you feel like it's something you want to answer, I think your little box will light up, and I'll be able to call on you to answer the question. So, and again, if you can add on, you can just, one person can answer one. There's no set, this is right or wrong tonight. So after you graduated from high school, what was the one thing you felt confident about doing when you went out into the world? So the thing that you felt the most confident about as you graduated from high school and went into the world.
I guess I'll answer first. Hi, Beth. Good evening.
Hello there, Lindsay.
It was really good to be able to talk to you last week before this call and kind of just prep for this a little bit. I think that the most important thing that I learned before I graduated was being able to advocate for myself. I know that you said that, you know, a couple of minutes ago, but I think that that's really something that you say all the time, but doesn't sink in until there's no one around, and you really have to be able to voice what it is that you want and what it is that you're looking for, and be able to communicate with other people so they understand your needs. And everyone communicates differently, and not being able to get frustrated, but understanding what your goals are, and just moving forward to get that. I think that was important.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ahmad, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say I don't know if it's like my confidence so much going out of high school. I think it's just the fact that I thought I had so much confidence going into college, and then the whole self-advocacy train hit me like like a full freight train there. So I really wasn't expecting, although I feel like I had all of those skills, really applying those skills kind of took into effect, and I thought I was ready, but I really wasn't. So that, also kind of changed the course of the way I did things going forward, just because, I was having to react in the moment instead of being prepared for that going into it.
Did you find a difference from CLC to a university?
Absolutely. Yeah. CLC was has a great office for a student of disabilities. I had a great experience there. The hammer and the nail there is, like you kept reiterating in your presentation, is being self-advocate and being able to speak up and tell people what you need, because without that, they're just simply not going to give you anything. And so you would kind of expect that those things would sometimes come to you, because that's what we've gotten used to with our teachers and all that kind of stuff, and our parents being there. But once you're out there on your own, if you don't ask for stuff, it's just simply not going to come. And so you really have to kind of find that courage within yourself to say, hey, I need to kind of accept or get over whatever barriers are holding me back, so I can go ahead and do what I need to do, because a lot of times the biggest enemy is ourselves.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Debbie, do you think that that Zach had what he felt the most confident about when he left, and maybe kind of was surprised about?
He was most surprised actually in the work environment, not so much at school. For instance, basic things, he's hard of hearing, and to ask, an employer, "Hey, can you text me instead of calling me?" And his first employer, it was something that they just didn't do. They insisted on calling. So sometimes it's the right fit, finding somewhere that you're going to work well. Where he started his second job, and day one, he got that text, and it was a much better fit. And he just didn't realize, well, what do you mean? That's a simple request that not everybody's going to accommodate it.
So, and we kind of, let's see, it's interesting that you say that, because you're absolutely right. If things that we think are simple, all of a sudden in that world that we're in, people don't always simply accommodate for us.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to speak to the awareness front of that. Most people generally are not aware of what we need as people with disabilities. For instance, I don't know if I mentioned, I have a visual impairment. So a lot of times I'll ask for simple things that people might think are just like bananas. And, in a real world, that it makes a whole difference for anyone that kind of needs that. So I agree totally.
Has there ever been a time when you were in college or in that workforce that, whether that be Lindsay or Ahmad, that you were denied an accommodation that you requested? Kind of like Zach was told no, that they would not text him, they had to call him?
No.
Yes.
I've been denied accommodations both on the post-secondary education front as well as the workforce front. So I think part of that is kind of what you talked about. There are a lot of factors that go into getting those accommodations, which a lot of times for a person with a visual impairment would come down to cost, because everything and most things for people with disabilities are really expensive. So when you ask for a certain piece of software that's $1,000, the company might think twice about offering that to someone where it's just one employee. They're not just, they need kind of reasons behind it so they can justify that kind of thing. So that's a point where you have to work with your employer to sit down and say, okay, if we can't get this, what else can I get that's going to be equivalent, or just be able to help me out in the same way that I need to get my job done, which might come down to like a compromise of using, let's use a screen reader, for example. JAWS is a screen reader for Windows that costs about $1,000. The counter to that would be, how about you use NVDA, which is a free software. It'll offer almost the same thing, and you can still get your job done, and it's a win-win. You get your accommodation, we get to save money, and so it's all about kind of finding the perfect mesh with company and employee there.
And you work for a special education co-op, and there's still that give and take.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter where you work. A lot of times it really is. That's wonderful. So, Lindsay, were you ever denied an accommodation?
Well, I feel like my my IEP story is slightly different from Ahmad's. They knew that in like 5th grade I was just slower in math, and that I had challenges in math, and getting me through each math class in high school was kind of like pulling teeth. It was just like hitting brick walls. But because that they knew, and because my parents knew that my weakness was math, they really taught me to pull my strengths in everything but math. So as I was saying to you earlier, I started taking classes in CLC in junior year, so that I could kind of start building accreditations for a college that I could transfer over when I graduated. And I knew that because I knew that my ACT score junior year could be iffy, and I got a 23. And I did get into some schools, but it was, I want to say a little rough, but they want better. And so if you're going to pull in with a slightly lower score, you have to have things to balance off. So I was in like 4 or 5 clubs, and then I was doing community classes. So that by the time I graduated, I was kind of trying to go ahead. I also think it's important to push for honors classes. If there's something that you are good at, or if you are better at reading, like try to make one class a really good class, even if it's harder. I think it's good to push yourself, and it shows that you're putting an effort. And I think at the end of the day, they really want to see the effort that you put in. Colleges and employers, like that doesn't really go away. They always want to know what you did, and your integrity follows you throughout your entire life, and what you do and what you produce. And everything with your name on it should be done with purpose. But when I went in to college, I definitely brought my IEP. That wasn't even a question. And they were because I was so forthcoming with them, and I worked really hard with the Center of Disabilities. I know that some schools, they call it different names, but Resource Center, whichever you want to call it. I worked very hard with them, and I was able to take my tests outside the classroom. I was able to have a recorder. If I wasn't there, there was people that were able to do note taking, and you can volunteer and get community service hours to be a note taker too. Even if you're with the Center of Disabilities, you can also work like a kind of inside with them to help other students. So I think that it comes down to what you said of bringing it with you, and that is a choice. But if you do bring it, I don't think that you would really miss out. They're less lenient, or they're more lenient, and they're not going to really be on you to use it. In school, you have the meetings. There are no meetings in college. You either bring it or you don't. They don't know either way, like they wouldn't know the way the high school will know. So I suggest that you bring it. And if you choose to not use it, you don't have to. But I think that it's a good benefit for you, and also for your families, because you need to succeed, because they're paying for it.
And choosing to not use it is such a good point, Lindsay. I can't stress that enough. Just like
there's some things you don't want to use. You don't have to take everything that they offer you for every class or every time.
Yeah, and just making sure that like being comfortable with yourself. I know when I went into that situation, even though I brought my IEP in and got all my stuff together and had everything in place to go ahead and get all my accommodations, that didn't mean I was comfortable using all of my accommodations.
Right.
So I think a big part of going into that is just, being comfortable with yourself, who you are, and what you need to be successful. And totally agree with you.
No one's worrying about what you're doing because they're too busy worrying about themselves. And I think that you start to shed that as you get older, but no one really cares that like you're walking in and out of classrooms, that you're not there.
They really don't. And they really
No.
don't care about the accommodations that you're using in class. I can guarantee you that everyone has their own struggles, whether you can see them or you can't. So
Yes.
Well, and I think that's a really good point that you just made, because I know students are very embarrassed and they don't want people to see that they're receiving extra help. But honestly, I think, especially in college, any student that could get more time on a test would probably take it, or any student that
Yeah.
would take it. People wish to be able to get that extra help in college.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's nodding. Yeah. So,
Yeah. People wish they had extra help now.
yes, they do.
No,
Yes,
that's the joke, is that people are embarrassed, but really everyone that doesn't have it wishes they had extra time or that they couldn't leave the class.
absolutely. And honestly, like I tell all my students all the time, that the earlier you start to kind of do that stuff and advocate for yourself and just be comfortable using that in whatever space that you're in, the easier it's going to get for you as soon as you go to college, and you're just going to hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to kind of ask Zach's mom, Mrs. Gans, Debbie, kind of like for you, what was the biggest transition experience for you as Zach left high school and you being there and being able to help him, to them, him being on his own at college? How did that play out?
It was hard. Pretty much when you try to help them through the college, I am a nobody. They do not want to talk to me. And I had the circumstance where I fought and fought and fought, and he's a big advocate also for himself to wear an FM, which is like a microphone for someone that's hooked up to their hearing aids. And he decided he did not want to use it. He was not going to do it. And there was nothing I could do. He had to make that choice. He was now an adult and I disagreed with him, but he's figured it out.
And,
So
and was he successful without it?
Yes, because he's in a group of
I think Debbie's audio cut out a little bit towards the
Yeah.
end.
It did. Are you still there, Debbie? We lost you for a little bit.
messing with him and make sure that he gets what he needs. So he's in a very specialized situation. So it did work, but initially he refused to go to get the services and decided on his own what he was going to do. And that was hard for me.
Mm-hmm. But eventually he did decide then that he did need to go and get the help?
No.
No.
And he's successful. He got the help through the teacher. The teacher made sure he had everything he needed. He sat in front and they worked it together, I guess. I don't know. He's very successful at what he's doing. So, but sometimes they do choose not to go and get those services that you fought for the last 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, it also sounds to me like he's in a little bit smaller program, and they, all the classes are very connected with it being such a specialized area. And I think that's why I said earlier, I wanted people to know everybody's experience is going to be different and it's going to look different. We can tell you kind of what that standard expectation is, but until you visit that school and you're in those programs, you just don't know. So that's why I can never stress enough that don't ever go visit a college without making sure that you know who the person is or where the program is that will provide that disability services. And the key word is disability there. And for a lot of people, that's the first time that they've thought of their student or even their student has thought of themselves as having a disability. But they do, and that's okay, because it's not about the disability. It's about getting the help and then moving forward. And that's a big adjustment too.
Yes, and it is true. I mean, when we were filling out applications and it asked, do you have a disability or something to that effect? And he's like, no, I don't have one. I go, well, you can't hear. And he's like, that's not a disability. I'm like, well, it could be. So I think it is, but it's also their perception.
Right, exactly. And he may say that because Zach isn't with us tonight, but Zach wears hearing aids. And so again, give me my hearing aids and I don't have anything wrong. I'm just like everybody else. Take my hearing aids away and then I do have a disability. So, right. Exactly. So that's why, again, it's so individual. And yeah, it is interesting. I just happened to notice that I also have another former student that was joining us, Donia, and Donia is actually Ahmad's sister. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Donia and thank you for being here. But Donia, I didn't get a write-up about you. So you have to tell everybody quickly when you graduated and what you're doing now. Oh, is she going to be quiet, shy?
You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, unmute yourself, Donia. Oh.
If you look at the lower left-hand corner, there should be a picture, a little microphone.
There she is. Okay.
Sorry about the late arrival. I was finishing up a homework assignment and a quiz, and I completely forgot about the time.
That's okay. So good to see you.
It's good to see you too, and hello everyone. I graduated from DePaul University in 2016, and then started my first job at a medical office in Chicago for about 4.5 years. I did public health for my undergrad with I did public health with a concentration of community health. And then I went straight into working at a doctor's office as an insurance analyst, working with the HMO insurance. And I actually just recently started my my graduate program at DePaul. I did a career change doing sports nutrition and fitness. So I just started that and I'm really liking the program. It's an online program and it's been great so far.
Wonderful. So nice to see you. So proud of you. I'll tell you, I get another student to make me feel old, but so proud. Oh, so question for the panel members that I knew way back when, right? So what would be something that you would tell your high school self today? What would that be? What would you tell your high school self?
Use your accommodations, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Using your accommodations. Also, I jumped in when you said when you're visiting, different colleges, make sure you know make sure you're aware of like what university you're going into, the environment that you're getting into, seeing what type of resources they have that's offered by the university. See if that fits your needs and for your academic career, because I think that's very important. When you're in a university, you're growing, you're finding yourself, and having those available resources to help you reach that goal. I think that's really helpful. And I found that I found it extremely helpful at DePaul, like their office of students with disabilities. It's just phenomenal. Like it's smaller classrooms, which is what I liked. Versus like other like larger universities. I like that there was more engagement in the classroom between the professor and the students, which is what fit my needs for as far as my accommodation. So it made my academic career a lot more easier. So I definitely utilize your accommodation resources when looking forward into college and universities.
Wonderful. And then Lindsay, did you have anything that you'd want to add?
I would say don't let the internet rush you, and to not believe in everything you see on TikTok and Instagram, and to not base your life off of other people's lives, because everyone has their own path, and you're looking at other people that you will never be. You will never be them, and you can like them from afar, but you also have to remember that and have your own goals. So
I think
that's what I would say. I would say that very loudly into an intercom to all you guys.
I agree.
No.
Social
we
media
know
is a
because
very
we were
big
there
influence.
before it. We were there before that. And now all you guys know is filters. And you don't even know what anyone's face looks like anymore. I had a 15-year-old tell me the other day that everyone's being catfished daily. So just remember that at the end of the day, all this technology, your phone can go away, but your degree and your diploma that you get from high school is something that is literally forever, that you can keep getting records of, that you're gonna have to keep paying records for to send everywhere in the future.
Wait a minute, you're saying I can't get a Bitmoji degree?
You mean I can't be an influencer and a YouTuber for a living? I don't know about all that.
TikTok famous.
Yeah.
They're making it. They make it look so easy, but honestly, you have to put yourself out there and do the craziest things to even get to where they are.
It's the 0.05% of people that
Yeah.
can do it. And then once you do it, can you obtain it? And then that's like now the
Not
0.0%.
sustainable.
So, oh, and if your goal is to be a professional athlete, start creating a second plan of a possible next job for you to obtain. And if you think that you're going to film yourself on Twitch playing video games for a living, start creating a second job idea.
So I'm hearing you say having that plan B and maybe even a plan C is not a good idea. No.
You can get a job based off of your interests and your hobbies for sure. But the idea that you're just going to be famous and that you're just going to be popular and that somehow you're just going to obtain all this money and be like whoever it is that you follow, everyone follows their person. That's very unlikely and unrealistic unless you actually work hard, which is what those people did to get there. And what you're not seeing in that photo is all the hard work and being homeless and all the things they had to do to get there. So like Lizzo was living in her car as a journalist, right? Before she became Lizzo.
Okay, so now, I won't even admit I don't even know who Lizzo is. On to the next question. So this one actually goes back to Debbie for the parent perspective. So what would you say was the most challenging part as the parent when Zach graduated from high school?
I was concerned with, him going on to a school, to handling stuff on his own. What if his equipment broke? What if anything happened that I just couldn't be there to fix? But he stepped up to the plate. He became an adult, and they amaze you. They really do what it takes. You just have to give them, the strength to do it, and they do it. But that was hard. That was hard letting go.
And as a mom, I can say that too, that is one of the hardest things, no matter what stage your child is at, letting them grow to the next one is really, really hard.
Yeah, it's like you give them the toolbox, and it's their time to build, and you hope they build what they want. So
absolutely, it is. Mm-hmm. And when they don't get the accommodations that they need for a test and it doesn't go their way, I honestly, folks, guess what? Sometimes that's the very best lesson is when things don't go the way that they want them to go. So then
Yeah.
next time they may take that time and go process everything so they can get the accommodations they need.
Absolutely. Don't ever see a failure as a bad thing. Failures are
Nope.
just our building blocks to success.
Exactly. I always say, you know, a mistake isn't a mistake if you learn from it, right? It's
Right.
only a mistake when you keep doing the same thing and hoping for different results, right? So,
Right. And
yeah.
they learn the hard way. The refrigerators don't stock themselves,
Yes.
and mom is no longer an ATM machine.
Oh, yeah, that's very, very true. Oh my goodness. So, so kind of because we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap things up now. I just wondered if there was like one thing each of the panel members would kind of like to share, just kind of as like in summary, what they would want to leave the students with as like that, again, that last final piece of advice to our high school students and family members that are watching today.
I'd just like to say that everyone should, always strive to be the best person they can be. Always try to be, strive to get better and create success for yourself. And that includes things like being a self-advocate for yourself, speaking up when you need help, using those accommodations that are available for you. And just know that we can do anything that we set our minds to. It's just a matter of we have to do it differently rather than the same way as everyone else. And that's totally fine. I'm a huge believer in putting the ability back in disability. So I hope we all do that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with what my brother Ahmad said. I was the type of person that, I wouldn't say that I struggled with adapting with my disability into like the, you know, in college or in like the workplace. Definitely take advantage of all of the resources that are available. I know I learned it the hard way. I try to do it the same way as everyone else when I knew that there were resources available for me, but, I just made it harder for myself. But my brother, does a really good job at, reminding me like, you have these resources and accommodations available for you. Like your life will be so much easier if you just use it. You know, I finally got to that realization, like, yes, this is, it's all a part of adaptation. So what I would recommend for anyone that's, leaving high school, whether it's entering the work field, whether it's, entering college, I would definitely say to build a resume, start now, because as you get older, it's going to look so good, seeing if there's like, you're putting yourself out there, you're, gaining experience. Cause I think that's, what I learned in my journey. That's what I thought that was important for my, my career, steps. And then also my academic career. Like I did a complete, I studied one thing as my undergrad and I did a complete career change after putting myself in that field. So I think it's definitely important for individuals, students coming out of high school to put themselves, in that workplace where they gain experience and ultimately, it'll help them, have more like familiar with like different careers that they may be interested in.
Awesome. Mhm. Thank you, Donia.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
I agree with building a resume. I think start joining clubs and start also focusing on extracurricular activities is really, really, really important, because it's just going to get you ahead. It's going to put you one step ahead of the next person that hasn't done that yet, and you have already accomplished that. And off like advice that maybe my last parting thing is, although focus on your adult life, which is what all of you have been wanting and complaining about all this time, and now the moment's close and it's going to be near for some of you. I don't know if there's anyone that's 17 or 18, but this is the time now. This is what you all been waiting for. Welcome, I guess. Uh, but if you're under the age of 18, enjoy being young. And I know that there's COVID, but enjoy this time where you don't really have to pay for things yet. I really laughed. Debbie, my mom said to me about a year ago, she said to me, I'm never giving you another dollar again, unless it's for a holiday or maybe your birthday. But she's like, don't ever call me and ask me again for money. You know, because you have to get cut off, because that's just what you want to be an adult. Being an adult is getting cut off. It's knowing, okay, you have to budget and make your own money. And that sounds very fun when you want to be an adult, but actually learning how to do that is very difficult. Learning how to live on your own and learning how to communicate, again, advocating with other people is difficult, but that's what makes you the adult that you wanted to be all this time. I think that you need to learn when to speak up, but also learn when to be quiet and learn when to listen. A lot of times I think my biggest piece of advice maybe is when you want to talk a lot because you think you know so much, but I think it's also okay to humble yourself and know to listen to other people and take their advice when they maybe try to guide you because they know maybe something you don't know and they're just trying to help. So I guess that'd be my parting advice.
Wow, awesome. And Debbie, can you kind of round us out on what do you think that Zach would say if he was sitting here?
He loves college. He found something he truly was good at. He loves the people there. He loves learning, which I've never heard before. Just overall finding that right fit, and he did. And he, you know, he's gonna be, they surprise you. They really do. They really step up to the plate.
I think the most important thing that I would tell students is take that time to really find where you want to go after high school. I know that I remember Zach and his journey, and he had lots of different things he was thinking about. And then all of a sudden he found the school in Milwaukee, and it was like, you know, just a glove. It just fit him so well. And I almost knew before he even left, I was like, yep, that's what he's going to go and do. And he's going to do great. But it was partly too because he took the time to really think about lots of different options. And mom took the time to help him explore those different options, because pre-COVID, you could go and visit the schools and meet the people that work there and see the different programs they have. Right now, we can't do that. But when we get back to that world and we can, I would encourage students, don't ever start attending a college if you haven't stepped foot on it. It's very different once you arrive and can see everything for yourself as well. So
yeah, one more thing. I now have two in college, and I had to go outside of my box. You know, I work for a school, it's very conventional, and I have one going to be an aerospace engineer mechanic. That's what he's doing next. He's going to be applying for aerospace engineering. And the other one is a filmmaker at Columbia. So two things that I'm like, I hope you can make enough money to survive. But they are both flourishing and happy and in the right place. Mm-hmm. So I had to step back and not push my opinions on what they wanted to do.
Yes, that's a very nice way to end it, because as a parent, you're absolutely right. That's what we want to do. And even as teachers and counselors, that's what we want to do, because we many times think, oh, we know more, but you know what we do? We have to step back and listen. Just like Donia said as well, we got to step back and listen. So does anyone else have any questions for our panel members? Any other panel members want to add anything else that maybe we didn't cover?
Nope, I think preparation is important. I mean, coming out of high school, if you remember Beth, I wanted to be a music producer. Look where I ended up now. So
I know you did. Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember we were working on that together.
I didn't catch the interpreter's name, but thank you so much for being here and for helping us.
Thank you so much. She's done an awesome job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes,
and thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone to listening to our rambles.
You guys did an amazing job. I really appreciate you all being here tonight. I appreciate all the attendees that are here tonight to listen to the different stories of the students. And so just kind of real quickly, again, my name is Beth Remedy. I will go ahead. I'll be able to get the names of everyone that attended, and I'll be able to send the PowerPoint out, and I'll make sure and add the date for the CLC evening event to that as well. But thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Beth.
Thank you. And I see, can businesses deny people the Americans with Disabilities Act? Okay, I can answer that question real quick. So when you're talking about a business and an employment accommodation, the employee has to go to the supervisor, and they have to, the employer has to provide what they call reasonable accommodations. So kind of what Ahmad was saying, that he's receiving an accommodation, not the one he wanted, but he's receiving one. So it's a kind of a negotiation between the supervisor, employer, and the employee. It's just not an automatic, you get exactly what you want. Okay. Oh, and then here, I will go ahead and put my email in. Oh, wait. Bob, did you want, hold on, my husband just made a very good point. Yes, my producer in the background.
Yeah, so if people would like to get a link to the video from tonight, if you could post your email in the chat here, we'll know where to send it to.
Thank you.
Are you posting this on your YouTube channel, Beth?
Well, you know, Matt, if I knew how to do that, I surely would. I'm going to be asking for help from my tutors because I need help. You know, I still need help with that stuff.
You can find Beth Remedy on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all the social media outlets.
Yes, yes. I'm just not. I'm still not a tech person. There's some things in life just don't change, but you know, I'm trying. This is my
I think you did a
forward.
great job.
Okay. So I see that we're getting some emails to send things, so that's good. Okay. Okay, but
So I also have to say, if you ever get a chance to study abroad while you're at university, you should totally go for it. It was a great experience.
ooh, where did you go?
I went to Dublin, Ireland.
Really? Awesome.
We got to go visit all the different schools, check out their programs, their international schools, their school for the blind over there. So that was a really fun experience.
Did you go with like the special ed department at ISU?
Yeah.
Like all
Yeah,
the
it was a
teachers-
special ed study abroad, and it was one of the few study abroads that was focused around low vision, which actually took us to the School for the Blind there, and we also got to check out their service dog center there.
Wow, that was awesome. Now, do you
It
have
is.
a service dog?
I don't know.
No, you don't. Don't
Yeah,
you?
if I need to, I'll just use my cane. I usually
Use
just
your
whip that
cane?
thing out. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So, and you don't have a service dog or anything?
No.
No. So, but no, it's so good to see you guys. You guys are just, it's amazing. Look at how far you guys have come. Poor Donia was in my college prep class. Remember, Donia?
Yeah.
I loved that class.
So did I. It was very helpful. And look
Good.
where it got us.
There you go.
You remember John Juan, Beth?
No.
You don't remember Juan?
Oh, yes, of course I remember one.
Yeah,
Yes.
I saw him maybe like last year. We still play goal ball sometimes.
Oh, that's so awesome. You know, I took a student when I was still working for CEDAL. her high school, she was right on the border of McHenry County College and CLC, and all of her friends were going to CLC, but she had to go to McHenry Community College.
Wow.
And she was just devastated. So I met her at McHenry County College to introduce her to people and walk her around, and we walk into the tutoring center there, and there is an article from the newspaper about Juan and about everything he's accomplished.
No way.
Yes, and right in that article, you know who he thanked was Mrs. Mayhack.
That's actually kind of surprising. I had to let her know.
No, it was awesome. It was a wonderful article. It was just
That's super cool.
Because he went on to do computers, right?
Yep, he's doing that now still. He actually works at the Chicago Lighthouse, I believe.
Oh, does he? Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes. So yeah, he wanted to be the teacher, and you became the teacher.
Yeah.
But yes, you wanted to be the music producer. I remember that. Don't you? You wanted to be an occupational therapist.
Yeah, now I'm doing sports nutrition and personal
There you go.
training.
You know what though? You always wanted to help people.
Yeah.
That changed.
I don't know if this will make it into the recording for the kids, but the Heat are about to start. So I'm going to go watch the game. Go Heat. I don't know if anyone's following basketball or anything right now, but I lived in Miami. I lived in Miami for 4.5 years. It is what it is. I kind of low-key became a fan of basketball. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, let's go. So I don't know if anyone's going to watch, but
We'll talk on Thursday night when the Bears play. That's my world.
You know what? We're praying for the best. Believe me, over here, we're really hoping. So, but thanks you guys so much. Beth, I'll email you later. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, all of you, for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's made my
Bye-bye.
day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay well, everyone.
Stay safe.
Yes.
See you, Beth. It was great to see you.
Thank you for hosting, Beth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming, Mary.
Thank you. So great. Good.
I'll
good.
get back to you on your email tomorrow. Today was a little crazy.
Yeah. No, crazy.
I've got ideas for you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you for all your help. I really appreciate
No problem.
it. And I'm blank on the sign language interpreter's name. The sign language interpreter did a wonderful job.
I'm Debbie. I'm actually with CEDAL.
Are you? Well, I heard a lot of good things about CEDAL tonight, didn't you?
I did. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your help. And I think we even still have a student that might be hanging around. Did she leave? Oh,
Ocean.
Ocean, are you still there?
Yeah,
Hi. Thank you for coming. What did you think about this?
I liked it.
Did you? Good. You just made my day being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Oh.
Okay, Beth, you are the host again, so you get to close things out when
I get to close
when
things
done.
out. Ocean, do you have any other questions?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that we are probably good then to go ahead and say good night. Are we good? Okay. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Debbie, I really appreciate you being here to be able to share that parent's perspective. I think it's so good for the parents to hear from a parent as well.
And Zach's journey is a little bit different, so I'm sure others will be different also.
You know what? That's why I wanted to say that right from the beginning. It is. Everybody's experience is going to be different.
Right.
It really is. But I'll tell you, it just really does take a lot of hard work on on all the students' parts to, get what they need and move forward, however they get it, wherever they get it. Absolutely.
Well, this was awesome. You did a great job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being part of this tonight. So
Absolutely.
now I can breathe. Okay.
Hit stop recording.
Oh, I'm going to stop recording. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Oh, yeah.
There.
stop button.